This is my Eclipse workplace. As you can see, I have created a class called Sudoku Validator, and inside that I have the Sudoku array, 9 cross 9 integer array, along with the values. Basically, what I need to write now is a simple validator method, which should validate and tell me whether the values that I entered in this 9 cross 9 array is valid or not. So for that, I've written a method called isValidSudoku. So basically, yeah, as we discussed earlier, so we will have to make use of HashSet, which is a set of, let's say, string, and then let me just name it as a valid set, new HashSet. Yeah, that's it. So now I will also need a integer number. Let me just it to 0 and then length of the array, and I'll just take sudoku array dot length. You can even hard code it to 9. That should not be a problem, but yeah, anyway. Um, yep. So what I have to do is I have to iterate through the array. So row by row. So for that, what I will do is I will say int row equals 0, row less than length, row plus plus. Similarly, I'll iterate through the column. It's a 9 cross 9 integer array, right? So I have to do a row and column iteration. So for that reason, I would say column less than length, column plus plus. Yeah. So what I would do is I'll just get the number from the Sudoku array. So, yeah. So for each of the number, right? So what I'm going to do is number not equal to 0. This is purely because, I mean, in case the user has given an incomplete Sudoku array, right? So I decided to just validate whatever has been entered because it's a integer array, right? So what happens is if a user has given uh, only six values in the entire row, right? The 7, 8, 9 would be by default it would be 0, right? So those values I'm not going to validate because 0 uh, because it's an incomplete array, right? But yeah, you can even make it stricter and say like if number is 0, then else return false, just so that user cannot type in incomplete array. But I'm not going to do that. You can if you want to make it a stricter validation rule, right? But yeah, so once I know that the number is between 1 and 9, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure the particular number should not be part of it should not be part of uh, the row, right? That particular row. For that, what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to make use of the hash set. So what I will do is valid set dot add of row comma in row plus column. Or similarly, I will also check whether the number, sorry, this should be number, valid set dot add of number plus in column plus row plus column. Similarly, the third validation I'm going to do is we should also make sure it should not be present in the 3 cross 3 box or matrix within the Sudoku. So for that reason, again, I'm going to check if it is already part of the box. So what I can do is number in box. What I would do is row by 3 plus column by 3. So if any of this returns true, then I can very well say that my Sudoku is false. Before that, if you want to give a meaningful output to the user, you can do that. So what I would do is probably say that invalid Sudoku, invalid value found at invalid value percentage d found at percentage d comma percentage d, and then I will probably say number comma row comma column. So just to make sure it is easier for the user who is using it, I'll just make sure because we always start with 0. So column plus 1. Yeah, that should do the trick for me. If everything is valid, I would come out of the loop. In fact, I'll just remove this else because that was just for. So what I would do is I'll just say valid Sudoku. Yeah, that should take care. So yeah, just to summarize, I'm using a hash set, and then within the set, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see if the given number, right, given number at row comma column index should not be present in that entire row. For that, I'm using this particular uh, set, and then similarly, I'm using. Sorry, my bad. So when I'm validating a particular row, it should be like the number should not be present in that row. For example, like for the first iteration, it should not be present in the 0th row. Similarly, it should not be present in the 0th column. My bad, apologies. And then, yeah, so it should not be present in the corresponding box. So that's the validation. And you I hope you have noticed. So what I'm doing is I'm using this method which is present in the hash set add. So what happens is add returns a boolean variable. If it is already present, right, then it's not going to add the value again, right? So it would return me a false. I'm actually making use of that particular return value. So whenever it returns false, I know that the value or the number which we are trying to validate is already part of that particular box or particular row or particular column. So hence, I'm saying that it's invalid. So that's the logic I've used. So yeah, I can probably validate it now. Let me run this particular program now. Let's see what happens. Nice Java program. Hey, it returned me valid Sudoku. It returns true. So now, just to make it more interesting, I would just edit it and change it to 2 so that I know it's a repetitive value, right? It's in the ninth column. So let's just run the program again and see if my program picks it up. Yay! As you can see, invalid Sudoku, invalid value found at 9 comma 9. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. You can probably validate it with let's say a 0 just to make sure. I'm because as I explained, I'm not validating if the value is 0, right? So this should, as per my program, it should return true. Let me just see. Yes, there you go.